you believe it's Friday already? Now, one of my favorite primary school teachers was Mrs. Auku. She was probably the kindest, warmest, most concerned teacher at University Primary School in Cape Coast. She used to organize extra tutoring sessions in her garage at home, and all the kids in the neighborhood would attend these classes to brush up on our maths and English. Sometimes she would organize quizzes and spelling bees, with each one of us scrambling to come out on top and win the coveted prize of black and white toffees. One afternoon, halfway through the class, Mrs. Auku suddenly got called away to attend to some urgent business. Now, she had announced earlier that we were going to have a spelling bee, and we had all been working ourselves up into a frenzy of anticipation over it. One of the older kids, a boy named Nathan, who, it must be said, was far from the sharpest tool in the box, suddenly walked up to the front of the class and told Mrs. Auku to leave him in charge of the spelling bee. "I will give them plenty words to spell," he confidently assured her. Mrs. Auku smiled and asked in her throaty voice, "Hey, Nathan, you will organize the spelling bee? Okay, spell present." Nathan cleared his throat, screwed up his face in concentration and started to spell. P-R-E Then he paused for a moment and started snapping his fingers rapidly. Zent cry was spelling it then. Now, while the whole class burst into fits of uncontrollable laughter, Mrs. Auku patted young Nathan on the back and said, "My boy, you can't fill teacups from an empty kettle. Work hard on yourself so you can better help others." To this day, those words have remained with me. You can't fill teacups from an empty kettle. How true. Yet almost every day, we all try to do this. Every Ghanaian talks about their hatred of corruption and their disdain for our difficult economy. We express our disgust at how our leaders are robbing us blind, rebranding buses and bribing MPs and building hotels and trafficking drugs and selling access to the president and taking kickbacks from contractors. We rage at them and demand accountability and honesty from them. But not once do we ask ourselves, where on earth that honesty and accountability is meant to come from? Our leaders are chosen from amongst us. So if we ourselves are not filled with honesty and accountability, where will honest and accountable leaders come from? You can't fill teacups from an empty kettle. We despair at the youth of today. We say they have no morals whatsoever, no manners, no respect for the elderly, no regard for tradition and culture, no sense of consequences. They are amoral and lazy, always complaining about something. If you listen to our lamentations about our youth, you would imagine that the future of our species to be nothing short of apocalyptic. But where did these baby terrorists come from? Were they not sitting right there in the kitchen when you were gossiping viciously about your neighbor? Were they not right there on the sofa when you were insulting your spouse? Were they not sitting in the back seat when you were jumping the red light and driving on the hard shoulder and bribing the policeman who stopped you? Do you think they were born without a sense of consequence, or did they inherit it from you? You can't fill teacups from an empty kettle. My dear friend, today's message is simple. Your society is a reflection of yourself. You can't fix any of life's problems without first fixing yourself. In aeroplanes, during the safety briefing, the captain informs all passengers that if the oxygen masks are deployed from the ceilings, adults must first put on their own masks before helping children with theirs. So while you are making these completely justified calls on leaders to #fix the nation, remember to first fix yourself. Then you can help others fix themselves. That's the correct sequence by which we can save this nation. And we better do it fast, because corruption, violence, selfishness, and infighting, and incompetence, and impunity are fast sucking the pressure out of our cabin. So let's get our oxygen mask on now. My name is Kojo Yankson. I'm filling my kettle. Good morning, Ghana.
Good morning and welcome to the AM News with me, Mapito Sibidi. Ghana this morning is taking delivery of 350,000 doses of COVID-19 vaccine in an effort to get its vaccination program back on track. Head of our health desk, Fred Smith, has been following this and joins us from the Kotaka International Airport. Fred, good morning. Fred? Fred, if you can hear me, can you give us an update of what's happening at the airport in terms of the vaccines that we're getting? All right, it seems like we don't have Fred on the line. Away from that, President Akufo-Addo has accepted the nomination of Kisi Ejabeng as special prosecutor and has written a letter to the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, seeking the House's approval of the appointment. It follows the resignation from office by Martin Amedu in November last year. A press release communicating the acceptance of the nomination of Mr. Ejabeng by the President reads, let's see if we can get it on our screens right now. All right, this is the letter, and it reads, the President of the Republic, Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has accepted the nomination of Mr. Kisi Ejabeng as special prosecutor and has, by letter to the Speaker of Parliament, Honorable Bagbin, dated 29th April 2021, sought Parliament's approval of the appointment. It will be recalled that President Akufo-Addo accepted the resignation from office of Mr. Martin Amedu as a special prosecutor of the 16th November 2020, and in accordance with Section 13 of 8 of the Office of the Special Prosecutor, and is required to appoint a replacement within 6 months of the position becoming vacant. To this end, the Attorney General, Mr. Godfred Yabwadame, on the 16th April 2021, nominated Mr. Kisi Ejabeng under Section 13 of Act 959 to the President for consideration as the second occupant of the Office of Special Prosecutor. Having been called to the bar in October 2003, holding a Bachelor of Laws degrees from the University of Ghana, and the statement ends, the President is hopeful that Parliament will expedite the confirmation process of Mr. Kisi Ejabeng as he can assume the position without delay. All right, let's go back to our first story, where Ghana is taking this morning, taking delivery of 350,000 doses of COVID-19 vaccine in an effort to get its vaccination program back on track. Head of our health desk here, JoyNews, Fred Smith, joins us. Fred, what can you tell us?
The Turkish airline, which brought in the 350,000 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccines, the it is from the Democratic Republic of Congo. Ghana's share of the 1.3 million doses that are being redistributed, Congo received 1.7 million, but have been able to only utilize 400,000. And so at 5:20, the aircraft touched down. So far, the officials from the Ghana Health Service, UNICEF, and the Ministry of Health have been here and have been offloading. The van you see here is a van brought in by the courier service provider UPS. They are helping government in the distribution of the vaccines to the vaccination centers. They will move from here to the Ghana Health Service storage facility at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, where the allocation to the various vaccination centers will be done. This helps us to give second jabs to persons who took the first jabs. We will be left with about 500,000 doses to bring in. So far, officials have not told us how those 500,000 doses will be brought in, but at least 350,000 of those who took the first round of vaccinations will get their second jabs from these.
Head of our health desk, Fred Smith, giving us an update of the 350 doses of vaccines. Ghana is getting 350,000 doses of vaccines that Ghana is getting. Away from that, the chief of Adumase at Asante Jobing has ordered the demolition of a school building in order to construct his palace. Children in kindergarten return from midterm with no space to learn, compelling management of Adumase RC primary school to suspend classes. Head of the Baruto clan of Adumase, Nana Amponsa, who led the demolition, claims he acted on instructions of the chief. Love FM's Rasta Sasari Donko visited the school and filed this report.
Used to house children in the KG1 and 2. After a rainstorm ripped off the roof, school authorities were compelled to build this temporary structure to house the children. But when school reopened, the structure had been demolished. The room, which contains learning materials, had its roof ripped off, destroying some of the items.
So 2 weeks ago, when the Adumasa RC KG1 and 2 were on midterms, the chief of Adumasa, Nana Opong, tasked some men to rip off the roofing of this room, which is the office and holds valuable learning materials for the children. And so the learning materials, books, assessment items, learning textbooks, valuable to the education of children, were exposed to the rains. And some of them, as you can see, have already started deteriorating. So as we speak, this office and its materials in here, exercise books, trunks, other things belonging to the children, remain exposed to the vagaries of the weather.
KG1 and 2 children were sent home on Wednesday due to lack of classroom. Some parents are incensed.
About
a week ago, some men started demolishing the structure. They claimed it was the directive of the chief. I was very troubled when I heard this because the kids will have nowhere to study.
The chief of Adumasa, Nanaya Opon, admits he has plans to use the land to build a palace. He, however, says he did not instruct the demolition of the school structure. This, however, contradicts the stance of the head of the Bretio clan of Adumasa, who supervised the demolition. Nana Jeche Amponsa says he was ordered by the Adumasa chief to pull down the structure.
The community contributed to build a place for the kids when their numbers increased. Recently, the chief informed me that the roof has been ripped off, and he has informed the district assembly, who has given him the nod to demolish the structure because of developed cracks. So the chief paid the carpenters and only took care of the materials.
These stranded children were sent home as management of the school struggles to find temporal space to accommodate them.
The foundation of this country, the children who are supposed to take over from us, are the ones who used to occupy this space. But now, due to the elements, there is no roofing for where they will sit and learn. Until somebody, an institution or government, sees the plight of these children as an emergency, school is closed for the KG1, KG2 pupils of the Adumasa RC Primary School. Reporting for Joy News, Erastus Asaredonko, Adumasa, Ashanti Region.
And that's it for the AM News with me, Mapita Sibidi.
Well, it's on. It's time for the news review. We dig into the most salient stories and break them down for you. And I do this always with the colorful.
Hello.
But you know, this beats my imagination. How sometimes we can combine even without.
Are we combining something here?
Look at your Kente-like colors versus mine, and then the black versus
man.
I'll find it somewhere.
Okay.
I must find it.
Like I said yesterday.
Is this also Auntie B's collection?
Yeah, this is actually.
You know what?
Auntie
After the
B.
show today, let's go and see. Does she do unisex stuff?
Okay, so let me introduce you to Smart Clothing. Okay, that's their name is actually Smart Tailoring. Okay, and they're located inside West Legon, on the just before you get to Hard Show, on the main West Legon Road. And Auntie B is a partner to Pastor King. So Auntie B makes the women's clothing, and Pastor King
he takes
will take care of you.
Men.
You get what I mean?
So you'll hook me up, right?
I will.
Good offer.
Oh, you will be amazed. The thing about Pastor King is he's incredible. His finishing is fantastic, but he's an absolute gentleman. Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Auntie B has done, she's sold for me for more than 10 years. So, you know what I'm talking about.
Come to speak of that.
So if you're looking for somebody who is really honest, you're looking for them to sew for you on an occasion that's coming up, or, just ordinary clothing, then look for Smart Tailoring inside West Legon. Or you can hit me up and I will link you. You know what I'm saying?
I'll tell you of someone who hasn't sewed for me for too long. I have a tailor who sewed for me for over 15 years.
Okay.
Absolute genius. He's in some corner somewhere. I've told this guy to relocate. He says, no, I like my corner.
Yeah.
But there's a new designer I started wearing, Sewa Bankwa. She's somewhere in Kanda.
Okay.
And she does amazing stuff.
Nice.
Around, I think, Club 100. Amazing stuff. I mean,
They're really
we must
good
sell
people.
what's good.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, along the line, Ajua Yabua was also sewing for me. So
okay.
I think I just have amazing people who because I'm an amazing person.
Oh, yeah. It's May, and we're all amazed.
May hide you. My style is simple. The thing I like about Auntie B, and that's why I tend to wear her often, is because she's come to know me. And so she just makes this combination. I didn't contribute. Everything was her. So me, I just go and I put myself into it and I roll.
Let's get into the papers.
I'm feeling the Friday. Like I'm feeling some vibe be like that.
Have you got a song yet for your mom?
Oh, my mom passed back in 2004.
Oh,
but
my condolences.
But I have a lot of women in my life. And
our mothers are many. They're never just the biological one.
So, yeah.
Okay, so I want you to come up with 3 songs for your mothers.
Oh, there's one.
Not spot on, not here. Maybe for later when DJ
Stone Boy's Epistle of Mama.
Okay.
That whole album. And there's one Mama song on there.
We'll look for it.
Yeah.
We'll look for it.
That's my album. That's my Mother's Day album.
Okay.
Yeah.
Casey and Jojo have a song. Casey and Jojo from way back. I think there's this other one. The lady who sang Jesus Take Carrie Underwood, right? She also has one.
There's a Boyz
and I've been looking for one beef from, I think, Freddie Mayweather or something like that. I'll check it out.
You know I
love you. Da, 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 da. Give me vocal backup. I have the Daily Graphic, Republic Press, Daily Statesman, and there's a reason I've stolen the Republic Press. It's a surprise for you, my baby.
Okay.
The Daily Statesman, the Finder newspaper, the Custodian, and the BNFT. What do you have?
The Ghanaian Times, the Daily Guide, the Daily Dispatch. If there's more time, I'll run through a few others for you. So.
All right. So quickly with the headlines, Daily Graphic, government committed to media freedom. That's according to Information Minister Kojo Oponkroma. President forwards Ajabin's nomination to Parliament.
Kojo? This is Kojo?
Yeah, Kojo.
Hey, I said more.
But his name is Kojo.
Pochoyo. I just wanted to hear how you pronounce it. Okay.
Kojo. Kojo Oponkroma. Lands Minister orders unauthorized task forces to stop work. Of course, there's that story about the president forwarding Ajabin's nomination to Parliament. Time to woo diasporan investors. That's according to the founder of Black History Month UK. And he's a global icon, Mr. Achaba Adaisebo, who has urged government to strive to create an enabling environment to attract Ghanaians living abroad and the African diaspora to invest their resources in the country. He also makes mention of difficulties in acquisition and registration of land, clearing of goods at the ports, high taxation on remittances, high cost of borrowing, and corruption as some of the challenges that could drive away investment, for which reason the government must take a serious view of the situation. Of course, all of these extant, but let's not also forget the other side that Ghana has made some strides. I mean, some of the IT bits we've brought on board to facilitate some of these things. Of course, when it comes to registering a business, still a few bottlenecks in there. I think the last time I checked, we were doing pretty well on the African, level compared to other countries, Nigeria and the rest, in terms of the ease of doing business, starting a business. But of course, a lot more that we can do to attract foreign investment and, of course, the money of Ghanaians living abroad. When you go to the international news page on page 5, 29 students freed in Nigeria, Ugandan rebel commander sentenced. I'm talking about Dominic Ongwen, who was recently sentenced to 25 years in jail. He's the first former child soldier to be convicted by the International Criminal Court, and his case has raised debate over whether he should be treated as a victim or perpetrator. I had to highlight this because whether you're talking Rwanda, whether you're talking Sierra Leone, whether you're talking Liberia, whether you're talking wherever you go, there are these incidents sometimes of children getting involved in some of these and how to treat them. Well, this is the first time that the ICC has actually handed down a sentence of this nature. Then there is, on the health page, page 13, AstraZeneca inaugurates nebulization station. And this morning we've been talking about more of those vaccines. Then
The middle spread of the paper, Most Reverend Boafo expresses concern over rising social vices, and I'm talking about the presiding bishop of the Methodist Church of Ghana. And 316 security personnel trained in counter-terrorism. On the back page, Zoom Lion constructs 8-kilometer road through Asakai. Did I get that right?
I don't know.
Okay. And
once it's not in Angloga, I don't know how to. I'm not sure if you get it
It's right in the Efia-Kwesi-Minsin municipality.
Oh, okay. I should know that. How do you pronounce it again?
How would Asakai? Asakai. Okay. Let's leave it at that before I attract undue attention. New COVID-19 treatment center inaugurated in Eastern region. And that's it for the Daily Graphic newspaper.
Let's jump into the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Here's what's on the front page. President accepts nomination of Kisi Ejabeng as special prosecutor, requests Parliament to consider nomination. And I guess this is the time where all the issues allegedly related to him can come to bear. And if indeed there is an issue of conflict of interest, mere or whatever, Parliament will have to do a fantastic job, not just to bring the issues up, but they have the power to approve or not. So there's an opportunity here. Also, court restrains planned Fix the Country demo. The Accra High Court has restrained conveners of the Fix the Country protest from embarking on the planned demonstration on Sunday or any other day until the restriction on public gathering is lifted. As one of our conversations here on the show, what is surprising is the fact that they were sitting down with them. They were talking, and then they went behind them, went alone, to convince the court that they had the case. This is one of those things. I was reading Samson's take, which was reposted on this issue, but he was sharing, said Dennis Ajay's decision on this ex parte motion, which is where the police alone can wake up and go to court and decide that Ben wants to do something, but we disagree, and so
we think for X reason so
yeah. And he was talking about, especially when it has to do with a case related to the Public Order Act. You know, you hear just one side. I mean, where is the fairness in that? Why won't you listen to the response from the others before you make a decision? Except that was a High Court decision, so we know that a High Court can take another decision. They are not necessarily binding on them, but we thought another High Court. I thought that was a really good point that he made, and he explained it in detail. And in instances like this, the people look up to the court. You know, it's like the final place for all of us. When the executive would take a decision, when the legislature would take a decision, the final place where you go, and whatever
to get clarity as far as the law is concerned is the law court. And
I don't know how a one-sided argument is fair enough for the other party, especially when we also say that the judges live with us, so they know what is going on. And especially when they were all talking, the parties were talking. So how do you go secretly behind and go to court and get an injunction?
So the Madam Justice of the court has arrived at her decision. Of course, it can be challenged, and which is exactly what the team is doing. But I heard Samson speak yesterday as well, and the nature of even this injunction that has been placed, it's so wide, it's practically infinite. You know, which makes it even more problematic, and that was one of
the restriction is lifted.
Until this order or the restrictions are lifted,
we all don't know,
and we don't know when. In other words, constitutionally, of course, that is also by executive instrument, but it means that our constitution says one thing, but again, the same law forbids you're doing the same thing that the constitution guarantees. You know, it's a very tricky situation, and especially like you're saying as well, you would want to listen to different sides, both parties, and granting such injunctions. I mean, I'm not a justice of the court, so we'll leave that to the High Court judge.
Also,
but
Ben,
it
when we know that we've made several adjustments, we've made adjustment to suit the occasion. Even when we're recording high numbers of COVID-19, I mean, we did a new register. We went through the process. We went through the voting.
Some level of campaigning.
We had political activities ongoing. So I thought, you know, what could be reasonable in a sense, this is just one part of it, would be you can go ahead and protest, but it should be in a confined area because we can't control the excesses. We really can't tell what other people who may join would do. But by all means, let the people speak. Because if you don't and they keep it in them, it will come back and hit you hard in ways that you would have absolutely no control. I'm highly disappointed that we're restricting...
Disappointed in what and with what?
We're restricting the people so they can't take any action at all. Because I thought that they could agree, you know, so say you meet at the Black Star Square, for instance.
Yeah.
You know, gather, let the people gather, do your social distancing, you know, space out and address them, but we can't let you go on a march.
Mama V, you know? I agree with you. I agree with you wholly because this is a very slippery slope we're going down. But you see, there are precedents to this, and that is why sometimes it becomes problematic for me. Of course, two wrongs don't make a right. There are instances where certain things have been done and we're like, oh, for example, what was happening at a point to the Auditor General. We went back and said, oh, and at Mills, a similar thing happened with this leader here. But in this instance, in the previous regime, we had a situation where the Electoral Commission, you know, people were planning a demonstration, protest, similar bit. The police went out there, got the injunction, similar trend. I am saying that these things must stop. We must be fair, balanced in the situation. Else, do you know what this means? The Ghana Police Service is a part of the executive arm of government. We have a situation where I feel, and I agree with the thinking that the IGP, for example, should not be one of those appointees of a president. I feel we have a president, an executive, I think I should say, that is too powerful, appointing practically everybody. But that's a different argument because, you know, these people were supposed to meet with the IGP and that didn't come off. But I'm merely saying that there are precedents that we have set. They are not necessarily correct. At some point, we must say that enough is enough.
We will discuss this in detail right after sport this morning. So quickly to the other headlines. And this is also on the front page of the paper. One person has been shot dead, while 8 others suffered gunshot wounds in a violent conflict over land between 2 Kokoma clans. This happened at a farming community in the Saboba district of the Northern region. Details of that in the Ghanaian Times newspaper. There's also 3 policemen who have been interdicted for allegedly abandoning posts at a checkpoint at Achim Begro in the Eastern region, giving way for armed robbers to rob passengers of a total amount of over 36,000 Ghana cedis and 9 phones. Details of that also here. On the front page, 3 died, 20 injured in gory crash on motorway. This by this time yesterday, it was breaking news. 14 people believed to be national security operatives who were arrested by the Eastern Regional Police Command have been transferred to the police headquarters in Accra for further interrogation. Details of that also there. And then in the center spread, the annual month-long ban on drumming and noise-making in the Accra metropolis ahead of Homowo festivities starts on Monday. According to the Assembly, it has therefore entreated all indigent towns and villages under the jurisdiction of the traditional area to cooperate and comply with the guidelines for the ban during the period. On the back page, Accra Great Olympics will be engaged in a tricky tie against Wafa in their Ghana Premier League Match Day 23 encounter at Sogakopa today. So they asked the question, can Oli survive Wafa scare? Agbogloshi E-Waste Center begins purchase of old batteries. That's it for the headlines that I've picked from the Ghanaian Times newspaper.
Okay, your surprise is coming, but let's start with Republic Press.
Kim Faisal?
Central Region, man 37 sentenced to 16 months in prison for impregnating daughter. A lot of these stories popping up. I just saw in one of the papers one in which an imbecile had been impregnated. And by the way, I don't use the word imbecile in the normal sense. The law has an understanding in the legal sense. He's impregnated his own daughter, and that's a grave situation. Woman from Mali gives birth to 9 babies. Akufo-Addo okays Kisi Ajabeng. Someone I saw yesterday, Samia Wuku begs for galamseyers. You'll have to check out the details to find out what exactly they mean. An offense with 20-year-old man arrested for beheading girl. But the entirety of page 11 of the Republic Press is dedicated to me. You know why? So the other day I was talking about our very own Derek Ekosam, who had an article from My Joy Online in the paper. Well, today it is Benjamin Akakpo, fixing without fixes.
Okay,
Cry the beloved
your
country.
Article.
It's made it to page 11, the entirety of page 11. So clap for me, clap for me, clap for me. Give me my applause.
Yeah, man.
So next time, you must also...
But you're just expressing what is on our hearts, really. So you're speaking for many people. Yeah.
So that's it with Republic Press.
Okay, let's do the Daily Guide newspaper. We're familiar with pretty much all the headlines, but there's one on JB's Gateman recounts murder nights, and that's the former legislator who was killed. The night security man of the murder, JB Dankwa Edu, the then member of parliament for Boakwa North in the Eastern region, yesterday appeared before an Accra High Court and narrated the manner in which he and some police officers found the lifeless body of the deceased. So his name is Stephen Apreko-Mensah. He said he had been working for the late MP for 13 years until the gruesome murder. He told the court that the deceased body was found lying on his back in a pool of blood beside his bed when he and a police officer entered his room. Led in evidence by Sefa Akop, Principal State Attorney, the gateman narrated the events of the nights of February 8, 2006, right up to the time the body of the deceased was discovered. So this issue is continuing. Remember the last time when I gave an update, it was a juror who was appearing before another court who delayed the process, didn't show up, and then the judge had to say that if it happened again, she was going to, dissolve the jury. But thankfully it's picking up. So if you want to hear the accounts of the gatesman as you follow the story closely, you can grab the paper and read details of that. Let's see if there's some entertainment news stories. Okay, don't go on the streets, Mr. Logic to fix the country activists. So this is the center spread of the paper. Some entertainment related story. Nobody supporting Buhari government. No, anybody supporting Buhari government deserves hell. That's according to a popular Nigerian singer, Davido. So he's joined many Nigerians in criticizing the president, Muhammadu Buhari-led governments over the rising insecurity issues in the country. And if you've been following matters of Nigeria, you would know that there's been many kidnapping incidents. It's happening almost on a daily basis in Nigeria.
Well, are you done?
Oh, Trey Songz faces battery lawsuit from bartender over 2019 incident. Details of that also.
Asimo.
You are like the love guy, so.
Anyway, speaking of entertainment, I just had to, I briefly missed this in the Republic Press. 6 Ghanaian celebrities who don't support Fix the Country campaign. It's split us along 5 fine lines. There have been over 500,000 tweets, by the way, about Fix the Country. 500,000. But some of them, for various reasons, say they won't join, like Prince David Osei, Ifyashua, Stonebwoy.
Typical of a democracy.
Adam says, for him, he doesn't believe in tweets. Instead, he's advising protesters to use dialogue recommendations and forming pressure groups. That's what he's saying. Stonebwoy says he doesn't want to get involved because of the politicization of everything in the country. So when he gets involved, people will look at it with political lenses. So he will not get involved. That's what he's saying.
If the people who built this country had not gotten involved, we will all not be here.
Are you? And oh, by the way, the articles I mentioned, myjoyonline.com, you can check all of them out there. The Finder, Goyle's 6,000 metric tons bitumen plant worth $35 million is 82% complete. USAID commits $19 million to boost agric finance in Ghana. And road crashes, motorcycles killed 441 out of the 1,034 killed this year. Just had to highlight that. Yesterday we had that bad story. I think the Ghanaian Times captured it, and here we are again.
Daily Dispatch newspaper front page, position of MPP's national chairman. Can Edward Boateng stop Stephen Ntim's 5th attempt? Big question. So we know that Edward Boateng is contesting for the slots. There's Freddie Blay, who is a current chairman, and then there's Mr. Stephen Ntim, who's contesting for the 5th time. And then Professor Ameyaw Ekomfi also contesting. So, you know, they asked the big question on the front page. Listen, if you've been following these stories, you might want to grab the paper and read. And here's one that's absolutely very touching. Chief Imam to mission schools, treat my grandkids with love, dignity, and empathy.
Okie doke. The final headline I'm going to do actually is a story I'm going to take in about a minute. And Mama, I want to know what you honestly think about this. IMF, and it's the Business and Financial Times, it says IMF backs tax increments to save Africa from debt distress. Now, listen to this. It's the IMF is backing governments to use tax increments as a means of raising more revenue in order to reduce borrowing as they continue to fight the deadly pandemic. This comes on the back of the Regional Economic Outlook Report, April 2021, published by the IMF, revealing that 17 countries in the region are either at high risk of debt distress or already in debt situation or debt distress as of the end of 2020, a situation that will be exacerbated with the continuous lingering of the deadly coronavirus pandemic. So to reduce borrowing, tax the people more.
What do I think?
What do you think?
IMF is not a citizen of Ghana. I am, you are. That's my response.
Okay, today I want us to do this. Give me a fist bump.
You didn't feel me, huh?
But sometimes, you know, someone has said that you have problems, and someone from outside is telling you what problems you have and how to solve them. Let me leave it at that. That's how I wrap up with my favorites.
Okay, so I guess this is where we have to leave you. We've got plenty of stories on myjoyonline.com. If you haven't read that piece, that article by Benjamin Akakpo is on myjoyonline.com. Just go to the opinions page. What's the title of it again?
Fixing without fixes, cry the beloved country.
Okay. All right. So plenty of stories, and whatever you missed here on our show, you can catch up. When we come back from sports, though, we're talking about fix the country, and specifically this injunction that is restricting them from hitting the streets on May 9, Sunday. Muftal Nabila Abdullahi has got plenty of sports. It's a Friday. Hearts of Oak is in action. Oh my God, but it is Kim Faisal. Congratulations to Manchester United, I guess. I said, Mike, here, Charlie, stay with us. We will be back with a lot more.
And now let's do juvenile football because the league resumes this weekend. It is the first time in 3 years, and President of the Ghana Football Association, Kurt Okreku, reckons its return will have an impact on the performance of various national teams. Juvenile football has been on a hiatus since 2018 due to number 12 and the COVID-19 pandemic that broke last year. The competition makes a return this weekend, and President of the Ghana Football Association, Kurt Okreku, is convinced when the right structures are put in place at the grassroots level, it will have a rippling effect on the performance of national teams.
It is only from the juvenile leagues that super talents can go through the ladder or can go up the ladder for national selectors to take notice. And if it is that the juvenile leagues are strong, our national teams invariably will be strong, especially the juvenile level. And if you cast your mind back in the years that Ghana has done very well at the juvenile level, our Black Stars have been very strong. Okay, so I'm extremely expectant, I'm extremely happy, and I think that we are in the right way. We are pressing the right buttons at the right time, in spite of the fact that we are in an extremely difficult period of COVID-19. I mean, somebody will say it's no joke at all to operate within this period, but we are pushing, and we're bringing along the industry step by step.
The GFA had planned to organize the Juvenile League last year, but during the registration process, an accident in Ofinso led to the demise of some young players, forcing the football governing body to postpone the competition indefinitely. Mr. Okreku says his outfit is doing everything they can to ensure the football season is a success.
We're pressing every button. i.e. by way of regulations, i.e. by way of logistics, i.e. by way of infrastructure. So you heard me say that games are going to take place at what we call the game centers. Games are going to take place behind closed doors in the 5 regions that I've mentioned. Games are going to take place in very secured facilities across the country. As much as we can, as much as humanly possible, we want to ensure that the footages, the pictures from our games are clean and of quality. And that's the only way we can attract individuals and corporate Ghana to pay attention to what we are doing. So we are working, and somebody will say Rome was not built in a day. And as we go along this journey, I am sure that we'll have new ideas and new investment opportunities.
The Juvenile League will be played on regional basis to have the champions of the various regions to participate in a competition called the Juvenile Champions League.
The issue of Fix the Country has been trending, and facts from the weekend throughout this week. The latest is police securing a restraining order from the court to stop a planned protest. Mr. Martin Pebu is a lawyer. He joins us for a conversation on the back of that. Mr. Pebu, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us here on the AM show.
Good morning, Amavi. Morning.
Yes, sir. Great. Good education on the bail issue on the law with Samson Ladia Yenini last Sunday. It was very educative.
Well, thank you for God and country.
Well, this issue of Fix the Country, and I want to first of all start from this angle. This was an order granted without waiting for a response from organizers of the protests. Why would such an application be necessary, especially when the two sides were already talking?
Yeah, say that again, Mamavi. Say that again. You see, as we've already said, to the extent that they were talking, there was no need for this ex-party. The police went to court alone without serving copies on the Fix the Country demo organizers. That's a lot of bad faith. Bad faith. It doesn't bode well for our democracy. And to make matters worse, you see, earlier there had been a decision, in 2015, there's a Let My Vote Count people had gone to court against a similar practice by the police. And Justice Dennis J., Justice of the Court of Appeal, but he was sitting in the High Court, gave a judgment in which he said that no, it's wrong for the police to go ex-party. Why the rush? You serve them. Under the law, the Chief Justice has the power to empanel the court to sit at any time, even midnight, any time. I know recently the Chief Justice did a very marvelous job. He empaneled the court to sit on Saturday, 23rd of April, and the alleged coup plotters case. Yeah, he empaneled the court. So once the Chief Justice has the power to do empanel the court at any time, you don't rush. Yes, we know today is Friday. Saturday, Sunday, the court can sit at any time. So what the police have done is a lot of bad faith. It doesn't bode well for our democracy. This reminds me of the time of President Mills. You remember this Alliance for Accountable Governance, AFAG. At that time, current Attorney General was one of the organizers. The police sought to do such a thing and didn't want them to demonstrate. So President Mills stepped in and said, no, he doesn't want any strictures. The police should allow the demonstrators to go on their demonstration. I remember Attorney General Dami even coming to say, why should President Mills step in? But the president did. He said, look, he's not interested in any strictures. Police should provide security for the demonstrators to demonstrate. You say, yeah, so what the police have done, they've gone back like 10 steps.
Let's go back to Sir Dennis Ajay's decision again, where he described such actions as a crude approach which should not be encouraged. It was a High Court decision, but I thought the reasoning we all did agree was good. and valid, why would another judge take a different approach?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, you say. But if we are providing legal answers, the easy to provide will be that one high court decision does not bind the other court. You see, that's an easy answer in the textbook. But, you know, we are building a democracy. As you rightly said, everybody reading said Dennis Eje's judgment, finds it very progressive. You say, we should be moving our democracy a few notches high up, you say. So where you have another decision, just say, oh, no, the police can do it alone, then it's like we've gone back. We've gone backwards.
Can the protesters or conveners, organizers of this protests, can they use the same court to set aside this order?
Yes, they can apply. They can apply and then try to persuade the judge to demonstrate why they should be allowed to go. Except that on the facts of the case, it's quite a tall order, especially with the EI 37, you know, the pandemic restrictions on the movement as a result of the pandemic. Yes, it's giving quite a legitimate reason. But I think that, look, they can do something middle of the road. For example, they can restrict the number of the demonstrators. Yes, okay. And then there will be social distancing. Let people demonstrate. It's cathartic, you know. When people are bottled up, they need a channel to let out the steam. They need a channel to let out the steam. So it's cathartic. When they finish demonstrating, then they are happy that, okay, at least we've had our say. I remember in, was it 1999, the Mobra struggle. Yeah, we went up to the Usu Castle. Yeah, and then eventually the police beat us up and everything. But, you know, at the end of the day, we're happy that we had made our point, all right? So as for demonstrations, practically, look, we should be very slow to stop people from demonstrating. No.
Let's look at the reasoning again. And you brought the issue of the, you know, the Restrictions Acts. Indeed, we've seen several activities happening, even though we have this instrument still in place. We've adjusted it a few times. We did registration of voters. Indeed, there was voting. And before voting, we had a number of political activities. We've had people rise up once in a while to carry out some action. So is this absolutely convincing? Especially also because we're not, the cases that we're recording now is not as what we were recording back in 2020, late 2020, when we had all these political activities going on.
Yeah, you've nailed it. Absolutely, you've nailed it. It's not convincing. It's not. Especially as the number of people going to be involved in this demonstration doesn't appear to be that much. And as I've said, look, there can even be a concession that, look, will allow only 1,000 people, or maybe 500. Look, so that's middle of the road. So, you see, you know, we railed and railed, okay, against the compilation of a new voters register because of the pandemic. It fell on deaf ears. And then when it comes to the elections, of course, as for the elections, we all wanted to vote, okay? So that one, yes, and there was voting. And as you mentioned, there were political rallies. Those were super spreader events. Yet they went on and on and on. And then eventually culminated in the elections, you see. And yet today, when a few Ghanaians want to demonstrate, then police say, oh, there's COVID, there's EI 37, there's restrictions on this in demonstrations. It's not good. It just doesn't show that we are committed to protecting people's rights to vote, to demonstrate. We should do something about it. I think it's not late. You see, the fact that a court order has been made doesn't mean that the demonstrations have been cancelled. What I mean is that the two parties can agree, come together, and then go back to the judge to have the order lifted. Judgments and rulings are compromised all the time. A judge gives an order for one party, the parties are allowed in law to meet after and then to agree on something different, then they will go to court and ask the judge to lift that order, or they will vary the judgment. Yes, once the two parties agree. So the order that has been obtained is not the end of the conversation, not at all.
Okay, but Mr. Pebble, you know, it's also hard to imagine that this is not one of those orders that says, oh, you can't do this for the next 10 days, maybe go back and engage. But this one says, until the restriction on public gatherings is lifted. I mean, how can this be?
Say that again. Yeah, this order has so many challenges, so many. Yes, but theoretically, the restrictions can be lifted today. Let's say if the president is interested in allowing the demonstrators to demonstrate, he can come up with a new EI. The last one is EI 37. That's the one that was made in February. Yeah, so the president can make an exception for these demonstrators. Because don't forget, it is the same EI that has made exceptions for people to go to church, for people to have funerals and all that, okay? Yeah, so if the president is interested, he can pass a new EI 38 or whatever the number will be by today. Maybe other EIs have been passed.
Okay.
And so that will look like what President Mills did. When President Mills came and told the police that no, he has not asked them to do any political chicanery for him. He's not interested in restricting any demonstrators. The police should allow them to demonstrate. Yes, if the president makes the exception for these voters, then that will be going back to our strong history of presidents saying that, look, they are not interested in police doing any political stuff for them.
Okay, I was just tempted to ask if it was in the president's interest to intervene in this matter.
Oh, definitely. Because don't forget, on paper, the president has such a strong record of human rights protection and all that. You know, he led charges in several of the cases, MPP versus Attorney General. There are a number of them, okay? So when it comes to the paper record, wow, very few people can stand up to the president. But now he's in the saddle. So it's time to walk the talk. So this will be one of the very good ones where he can intervene. He doesn't need to do it publicly. Yes, that's the thing. His Excellency doesn't need to do it publicly. He may just do it privately, tell the police and the national security to grant them access, and it's fine.
Okay. Well, Mr. Pebble, the day is just beginning, so we would see how this all rolls out, towards the end of the day. I guess we'll all figure out where we are with this matter. But thank you so much, as always, for the education, for opening up the matters to us. Mr. Martin Pebble is a lawyer. Well, all right, so that's where we are with this court restraining the Plan Fix the Country demonstration slated for Sunday. Well, Mr. Pebble says that there is a possibility that they can overturn this order. He also thinks that the president can step into this matter and make an exception to the rule. So we'll see how this whole issue pans out. Stay with us. We've got a conversation on bridging the gender gap that's coming up right after this here on the AM Show.
So from the legal standpoint, let's talk a bit about policy and gender issues. And this morning, our focus has to do with women in media. ALMA basically has been taking a look at the presence of women in media, especially in key positions, how women are discriminated against on the media landscape. And we delve into that all-important conversation as we engage Dr. Abna Yeboah Benning. She's a lecturer at the University of Ghana, and she is a member of ALMA. Dr. Abna Yeboah Benning, a very good morning to you. Thank you for joining the conversation.
Good morning to you too and to the audience.
Great. So how would you describe it, the status of women, maybe on a broader level, the status of women in Ghana, and then the status of women today, 2021, in media? How would you briefly describe that?
Well, I think that the status of women in Ghana is not altogether bad, and same can be said for status of women in media, but it's also not perfection. It's not what you would wish should be the case. And I speak in terms of opportunities available, the ability to access those opportunities because of how you're positioned, etc., even our presence in leadership. So there's a lot of room for improvement. There has been a lot of improvement, which is why I say it's not altogether bad. But there's certainly a lot of room for women to really take their own and contribute fully to the development of the country and also to our media.
Now, Doc, there's a startling revelation. I've been taking a look at some of your documentation and that recent report you're coming up with, and even I was shocked. So I took a look at your survey of 318 female respondents across radio, television, websites, newspapers, and all of that. And per your report, at the executive level, there's only 1% of women featuring. At senior management, only 5%. When it comes to mid-level management, 20%, and mid-level management, that's a number there. And then non-managerial roles, 74%. What do you think this says about the presence of women in the media and your impact?
If we were in the classroom, my question for you would have been, what is your experience on the ground? Do these figures reflect for you in real life, in the newsroom, for instance? But yes, interesting findings we had. And I begin by saying that this is a picture painted by the respondent. We had started off with the hope of the census capturing every body in the media organizations. Weren't successful at that. So this paints a picture of the respondents in the data. But it does, though, signal what may be happening in the bigger picture or in reality out there, which is that women have made significant strides in terms of their presence. They are there in the numbers, in larger numbers now within media organizations. However, their presence tends to, we have a term called the glass ceiling. So there seems to be an invisible ceiling when it comes to how high they are rising. You can name one or two women in the media landscape in Ghana who are CEO or who are in the boardroom, etc. A few of them are in middle management, a news editor, a desk editor, etc., etc. The majority of them, however, are on the lower, if you like, echelons of the media organizations, and that is reflected in the data that we have collected. And it was quite striking for us seeing that among the respondents that we had gathered the data from, you are talking only 6% who are really doing anything close to managerial. One of that percent is the one who is in executive leadership, but between executive and senior management roles, it's only 6% of them. Look at all these women we hear from on radio, in TV, the bylines we're seeing in newspapers, on news websites, etc. A lot of women's names are there. The issue, though, is that according to our findings, they don't progress much, or they are not in the meeting rooms where decisions are being taken as to what should we put out there as content, as to who gets to rise, who doesn't get to rise, how much should we pay people. They are not part of those decisions because they are not in the management meetings. They're just not there.
Doc, let me sneak in this bit of a concern. What do you think is making women in Africa and in Ghana, if we can localize it, not to progress to those higher echelons when it comes to the media? What do you think it is? Let's hit the nail on the head. What do you think it is?
So a number of things. So we can't hit the nail once. It's quite a number of issues that may come into play if we're talking about the opportunities for women to rise in media or the absence thereof. But I think one of the very primary ones would come from the patriarchal manner in which our societies in Africa and in Ghana are organized. So until a bit recent history, girls were raised to think that leadership is for the man, followership is for the woman. You were raised thinking that when you grow up, the man has to assume the leadership role, and your role was to support the process of the man's leadership. And so the people who are working today, the people who have worked in the media organizations in the past, were products of that kind of socialization. That being the case, within media organizations, when opportunities came for progression, when opportunities came for taking up leadership, which in itself is a very difficult thing, to be fair, you would have sometimes women shying away because, well, it's a bit too much, plus I wasn't quite ready for this. This is not what I am set up to do. And you would have the men relatively being ready to take those opportunities up. The flip side is also the fact also that the people who are recruiting men and women into these leadership positions, again, because they are products of socialization, the default person they see in a leadership position is more likely to be a man than to be a woman. And so chief executive position has come, or general manager position has come. We know how tough it is to be in that role. Sometimes you have to call people out. Sometimes you're taking very tough decisions. Women are too soft. They wouldn't really be able to handle it. And so the default person we're recruiting for becomes a man. When a woman and a man is in competition for that position, because there's a certain default position we have in our minds, there's a bit of an advantage working for the man compared to the woman. So it's partly how we've been raised, at least the generation now and the generations years gone by. I have a feeling our children will do slightly differently because now our children are getting a more, if you like, neutralized sense of leadership. Leadership is for human beings, and so I guess that may change over time. The other part, and again, I say the sociocultural environment is fundamental. The other part of it is also the fact that women never work in the office alone. They juggle full-time work in the office, they juggle full-time work in the home. And sometimes it's a bit of a struggle finding the sweet spot between those two places that you want to give your attention to. And so sometimes that also gets in the way of women's opportunities to rise. Because if there's a CEO position and they're recruiting and they are thinking, well, if you give it to Abna has just started having children. Every 2 weeks, she's going to come in with my child needs hospital. I need to go here. I need to go there. Let's give it to the man. It's an easier bet. So all those things become, if you like, baggages that women are coming into the work frame with that may stand in their way of rising, of the opportunity to rise. A lot of other factors, really. Even the structures of media organizations, the thinking. It's in recent times that we're getting a lot more content being produced on, for, and about women. The thinking has in a certain default sense, honored maleness.
Do you feel?
So even thriving within such environments, you sort of recalibrate yourself a bit. Well, this is how the game is played here. You have to recalibrate yourself and be able to survive and thrive in this space. As I said, there's quite a number of factors we can cite.
Okay, so a very quick one. Do you feel ownership is a situation as well? One thing that struck me as you spoke is that, well, if you have a lot of men in the space who are behind these media organizations, sometimes some of these problems may come in. Do you think women ought to also be getting into the media space forcefully in terms of investing in it, starting their own outfits, and also being able to say, look, I want to employ more women? That's another channel, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely, and I agree with you. And so when I said media organizations are even structured in a certain way that honors maleness, part of it was coming from ownership. A lot of media in Ghana and in Africa, actually across the world, are owned by men. and managed, obviously, also by men. There is evidence in the research, actually, that suggests that when women own media, the equation changes a bit. Equation changes by way of what they're interested in covering or the kind of content they're interested in producing, who they're interested in bringing in, etc., etc. And so a couple of months ago, we had a dissemination forum on this report, and it was just exciting hearing some of the women media leaders in the room, not owners, but media leaders in the room, who are saying, I am more deliberate in how I am prepping and propping up the women in my newsroom. I consciously try. And so I think that if more women had opportunity to own media, then the skills will balance out a bit. And we are at that place already, I think, because now a lot more women, and I think it's partly also because the digital has opened things up a bit more. Entry costs are slightly lower to start a YouTube channel, for instance, to start an online TV, etc. The entry costs are probably lower than the traditional media. So now we are beginning to see a lot more women taking ownership, starting their own media endeavors or gigs, where they're producing content and promoting it and selling it. And some of them are making sure that they are prepping up the next generation of women. Right. So ownership is certainly a part of it. If we can get a lot more women to enter the frame, chances are that the stories will balance out a bit more.
Let's talk about another stark reality, and we'll notice that even with entities hallowed, if you like the BBC, there are problems. In 2017-2019, issues were highlighted when it comes to the gender pay gap. In Ghana, how serious is this problem of not getting equal pay for equal work? Per your report, what did you find out?
Okay, so because our study has spoken only to men, there's a bit of a limit in how categorical we can be, because we've not gotten men's salaries to compare and say men are earning more than women in media. However, what we've done, besides asking the women what they earn, is also to ask them whether they feel a sense of pay inequality. In other words, if you compared yourself to your male colleague doing the same kind of work you do, do you get a sense that they're earning more or you're earning less? So the findings we have there are a bit tricky, because about 40-something% of them said, no, I think we are just fairly treated when it comes to pay. Just about 14% of them actually acknowledge that there is pay inequality. However, and this is where the catch comes in, the remaining 40-something% say they are not sure. For us, that signals a possible challenge also, because even though you have so many of them saying, yes, I think I'm fairly treated, if you have so many of them saying, I am not sure that I am fairly treated, you are not sure where eventually those people would fall. Are they going to be within the band of those who think they are fairly treated versus those who are not fairly treated? So there are certainly dynamics there that lead one to imagine a possibility that men and there may be pay disparities. But the reverse is also true, because of just how many people are not sure of that possibility. But I say that it leads to that thinking, that possibility. Also because, remember, we've just made that, we've laid a foundation where we are saying women are less present in leadership, etc. Leadership brings more income. The more you rise in an organization, the more you're earning. So obviously, if women are not rising as high as men in organizations, then there's a sense in which you can imagine that the men are the bigger earners compared to the women in the industry.
Now, it's quite a discourse, and I would have wanted us to get into so much more, but we have to narrow it down, and I want us to focus on some of the very topical matters. You did make mention of patriarchy initially, and if you have patriarchy, you will definitely have at the workplace something we all run away from: sexual harassment. What, per your findings, is the situation on the media landscape when it comes to sexual harassment?
So what we saw is that sexual harassment exists in the Ghanaian media. It is a reality. It It is a reality because about 23% of the sample said, yes, I have experienced an instance of sexual harassment. Sexual harassment by way of, so we had different ways in which they were to tell us what they've experienced. By way of an uncomfortable, unwarranted, unwelcome physical contact, by way of lewd comments, by way of somebody who thinks when they wake up in the morning, what they should share with me by WhatsApp is a pornographic material, etc., etc. And about 23% of them said, I have experienced sexual harassment. It tells us it is a reality. It is out there. Now, the anecdotal evidence we've had actually had led some of us to think the percentages would be way higher. But 23% is not as high as some of us thought would be the case. So maybe to some extent that is good news. However, it is not good news because it shouldn't happen. Sexual harassment should not be happening. Even if it is a 1%, it is 1% too many than should be happening. And we saw that 23% of the women said they've been at the receiving end of sexual harassment. So it is a reality within media organizations. People are being touched when they don't want to be touched. People are being solicited for sexual favors when they're being recruited, when they're being assigned jobs, when they're asking for promotions, etc., etc. It is a reality within the Ghanaian media that needs attention.
And maybe to climax the discussion, I know we could have spoken about paid maternity leave and all of that, but just to climax on this very final point, even when we talk about, women being sexually harassed and all of that, per what we know, in 2011, we realized that only half of all media organizations had any policy of sorts when it came to sexual harassment. What is the reality now, and what do you feel we should do to push that agenda to ensure that it is more difficult for sexual harassment to happen in media organizations in Ghana?
Right. So you are right when you say that the evidence in the past was that a lot of media organizations did not have a policy on sexual harassment. It still is the same to a large extent. Yesterday were very pleasant, not a surprise, so I can't say a pleasant surprise. So it was pleasant news when we came to multimedia to present copies of the harassment guide we've developed. And the head of news there told us, oh, we have a policy here. And I was like, yeah, you have to have a policy. But yes, a lot of media, so good job, actually. That's an opportunity to say kudos to multimedia. But a lot of media organizations across the country, as we found in the study, do not have any policy that guides the management of harassment issues within media organizations. This is a problem because what it means is that as many times as sexual harassment incidents happen, there aren't any blueprints that tells a certain manager, these are your options in this situation, or there aren't even harassment committees that exist whose sole job is to take complaints of harassment, investigate, pronounce, make a pronouncement, and whoever is at fault get whatever the punishments are supposed to be, etc. For the most part, across media organizations in Ghana, such guidelines do not exist, such policies do not exist. And they are very important because they take out fluidity, they take out subjectivity. When there's a policy and the incident happens, it becomes possible for the news editor somebody has come to report an incident to say, okay, what does the policy say we should do right now? The policy says go and report it to the harassment committee. And so things become very clear-cut where we have sexual harassment policies. Unfortunately, it doesn't exist across media in Ghana. A few of them even have gender policies broadly, but to a large extent, these things don't exist within the media in Ghana. And if I may take the opportunity, so because of that, as one of the issues that arose out of the study's findings, ALMA and the School of Information and Communication Studies of the University of Ghana produced a sexual harassment guide. I actually have a copy of it with me right now. We've produced what we call Sexual Harassment Guide for Media in Ghana, which we are presently sharing with media organizations so that in places where they don't already have a sexual harassment guide or a policy, this becomes a document they could decide to adopt. It is not law. We are not binding anybody by it. But at least in the absence of that in the organizations, instead of them now commissioning somebody to produce one for them, ALMA and SICS have done them the favor. You look at it, you adopt it, and so this becomes a guiding policy that when instances of harassment are reported, you then fall on it and take action accordingly.
This has been a very revealing, insightful conversation, and kudos to you and the Alliance for Women in Media Africa for highlighting these issues. I'll just wrap up on the point that we as men as well are involved, and we must lend our support to ensure that we curb some of these things happening, not only in media, in our academic community, among others. But Dr. Abna Yeboah-Benin, it's been a very good discussion. Thank you for joining us this morning, and we wish you the very best. Abna Yeboah-Benin is a lecturer with the University of Ghana, and she's a member of ALMA, that is the Alliance for Women in Media Africa. There's a lot more coming your way on the AM show. It's the European Union and their initiatives in diverse ways, even right here in Ghana. That is up next on the AM show. Do stay.
Now, the European Union celebrates its day on the 9th of May. It is a day to celebrate peace and unity. And to mark this day, the European Union decided to demonstrate the impact of its support in Ghana by inviting different non-governmental organizations that collaborate in the implementation of projects and initiatives to improve the well-being of the communities, to promote a greener and healthier environment, to stimulate a more sustainable development, and more recently to support the fight against COVID-19. It is on the back of this that I have some great persons representing various non-governmental organizations joining me to tell us about their projects and the collaborations that they have going on with the EU. So Samuel Lamte is Programs Manager with Act for Change. He will join us. He is in the studio actually, together with Derek. Derek is Project Manager, CIRAC Development. I got that right? Yes. Okay. So thank you, gentlemen, for being in the studio. Two of your colleagues are also joining us via phone. Nana Kwabena Asante is with Environment 360. There you are. Good morning to you, Nana Kwabena Asante.
Good morning.
Okay. And there's Richard Kweku with Plastic Punch. Richard, good morning.
Hello, good morning, and good morning to your cherished viewers and listeners.
Okay, great to have all of you. So I want to start in the studio, and I want, gentlemen, for you to tell me what your various organizations are into. So maybe Derek will start this.
So with CIRAC Development Organization, we are a not-for-profit institution that's looking at enhancing the socio-economic livelihoods of the rural and urban poor within Ghana. So we're currently running the Power to the Fishes project within the coastal sections of the western and the east central regions. In addition to that, we are doing the coconut waste project, where we are transforming the waste, the hacks, adding value to these products within the landmark, in Greater Accra.
Okay. Yes. So how long have you been doing this for?
With the Power to the Fishes project, we've been running for 2 years now.
Okay.
Yes, and we'll be commencing the 3rd year next month.
And the coconut?
The coconut waste is just 6 months. We just started 6 months ago.
Okay.
So we have some 4 more years to go.
Okay. So how has it been so far?
So far, because the coconut waste is in very early days, we just started with the inception meetings. We've carried out a baseline study. Next 2 weeks, we'll be having our launching the coconut waste project.
Okay.
And I want to use the opportunity to invite everyone to join us in the launch.
So how many people have you employed? How many people do you work with?
Okay, so with Power to the Fishes project, we have about 13 staff on the project by virtue of EU funding. With the coconut waste project, we currently have about 5 staff on the project.
And all this thanks to the EU and its support.
Okay. Samuel?
Okay, so our organization's name, like you rightly mentioned, is Act for Change. And what we basically do is it's a youth-led NGO that uses the tool of interactive theater and other participatory methods to address social issues in communities.
Okay.
So we go to schools, we engage with churches, we engage with women's group, men's group on addressing social issues such as sexual and reproductive health, sexual and gender-based violence, human rights, sanitation, and issues that are really affecting young people, women and children.
Okay, so what are some of the communities where you've done some work?
Okay, so we've actually worked in Somanya before on a 6-month project fighting child marriage. We are currently based in Jamestown. So we work in Jamestown. We've been throughout the various regions also as well, where we've done bits and pieces of our projects in as well. Yeah.
Okay, how many people do you work with?
So for staff, we have 4 staff members, and we have over 50 volunteers who work with across the country.
Okay, yeah. And so far, has it been really impactful?
Yes, it has been impactful, but we can't also deny the fact that coronavirus has actually impacted our projects negatively, but we are trying to get the best out of it at the moment. Because, we work with schools, we work with large crowds, and most of our projects are very one-on-one basis. It's due to the restrictions. We are finding it quite difficult to actually engage with the churches and also the schools. But we are finding ways where we can also adapt to the new normal.
Absolutely. Have you had to change, for instance, your messages? We had quite a number of girls getting themselves pregnant within the period when we went under lockdown.
I mean, that's one of the alarming things that we as an organization are dealing with now. We are trying to see, is it a time for NGOs to actually question their methodologies and how they are tackling teenage pregnancy? Is this an alarming way to actually get governments to be involved now? Because we all know when it comes to sexual and reproductive health education, it has solely lied on CSOs. Now it is time for government to actually take the initiative and work together with CSOs to see how we can address it.
All right. Richmond, I've seen some of the plastic collection that you've done with the pictures that we put on the screen a while ago. The beaches are virtually empty now, but it has exposed us greatly. Tell us about some of the things that you've been doing.
Thank you very much. So Plastic Punch, we have a citizen science approach where our mission ideally is to raise awareness on the dangers of plastic pollution and coming up with sustainable waste management solutions. And of course, to raise solutions, we have to bring community in contact with the problem. And these are the beach cleanups. So we have run 2 beach cleanups with the European Union. We do others on our own, but the European Union, as part of the Climate Diplomacy Week, we've had the last beach cleanup was in September last year, where we collected well over 5.3 tons of trash. This tells us the gravity or the extent of the plastic pollution problem in the country and the need for all of us to act, individuals, companies, government, and of course the media who are out to individuals to come together to help combat this menace. One thing about our beach cleanups are that we know very well it's not a solution, but it helps us gather enough data to know which pollutants we find on the beach, and thereby advising and in what quantities. Thereby, we are able to use this to advise policy and also actions at the local assembly level.
Great. Nana Kwabena, tell us about Environment 360.
Okay. Good morning, and good morning to your cherished listeners. Environment 360, we also believe in the circular economy, and we also believe in keeping our environments clean. When Plastic Punch was speaking, he talked about materials being cleaned from the beaches. So we decided to attack it from the bottom to the top approach. where we train the kids, the students. So we are having the cleaner and healthier environment in schools, where the kids are taught to be able to segregate their waste at source, so that this waste don't end up at the dump sites or in the sea. So ours is more of teaching the students. We believe there's this saying, teach the kid how they should go so that when they grow, they'll not depart from it. So we teach the kids how to segregate their waste at source. And we also teach them about circular economy. We go like waste. Some of the waste, most of the waste can be reused. So in doing that, we organize an art competition for the students, where the plastics and the papers they have segregated, they come up with art, they come up with murals for people to know that, yes, even though we call them waste, we can use them, we can reuse them to bring up other activities. So basically, we also believe in preventing the materials going to the dump site and teaching the kids so that bottom to top, so that when they grow, everybody knows the right way.
Okay, so what is the specific collaboration you have with the European Union?
Okay, so with the European Union, we are more like the implementation partners. We share similar ideologies in circular economy and circularity and green agenda. So most of the time, we implement some of the projects they have. We have Plastic Punch, we have the others also implemented. So we are more like implementing partners.
Okay. Richmond, let me stay on Zoom. So tell me how the EU is helping with what you do.
So the EU has been very supportive because, of course, we share different visions and missions together, especially with regards to the climate. So one key project we did together with the European Union was the Punch Corona campaign. At the time, that was at the time of the outbreak of the novel COVID virus. So the approach was simple. It was to spread awareness on different ways that we could reduce the spread of the virus in communities. And this was done in with different actions, one of which was we provided and donated contactless community hand washing stations to hospitals in Accra and to community centers so that people could wash their hands with soap to reduce the spread of the virus. We also distributed several reusable face masks, coupled with awareness on how to wear the mask properly and also how to care for the mask. So the campaign was to promote and remind people that we should not forget about the environment whilst we are protecting ourselves, to limit the amount of trash that comes out from people trying to protect themselves, ranging from gloves and to face masks, single-use face masks. The campaign really did very well because obviously we realized that within the period there was not so much a rise in the cases. We went to communities who could not afford face masks at the time, really hardcore communities like Sukura, we were in Begbese, and a whole lot of other communities, and also in Nungwa. And we believe that the contactless hand washing stations also made a lot of impacts, looking at the number of people who are coming to the hospitals around that time, and for them not to come into contact with the virus via just washing hands. It's really great. So this is something the European Union has supported us with. Of course, the European Union also supports Plastic Punch with circular economy initiatives. They help give contacts because we are carrying out alternative packaging research where we want to find alternative material from vegetal fiber, which looks and feels like plastic, but not plastic. So these are some of the collaborations, but more specifically are the EU beach cleanups and the Punch Corona campaign.
Okay. Derek, you mentioned that you've got 2 projects supported by the European Union. So how much of a support do they give you, and how has that support impacted on lives?
So there's been great impact on the livelihoods of our beneficiaries, looking at the very funding that we're receiving from the EU. Talking about the coconut waste, as I said, it's in the very early days. Now with that one, we seek to commence with the construction of a center that will process the coconut husks into value-added materials cocoa peat, activated charcoal, and the rest. Now, this is going to provide employment for the teeming youth, and also going to rid our societies of this canker, this waste material that is polluting is all over the place in our communities, wherever. Talking about the other projects, so the part, and to correct you on the one, we don't have just 2 projects funded by the EU. 2 projects being funded directly by the EU. We are also serving as sub-grantees under SNV on the Green Project.
Please explain that.
So with that one, the SNV is using funding from the EU to carry out the Green Project, and we're being subcontracted by the SNV. So in one word or the other, we are still in relationship with EU on that project,
okay,
but it's not a direct collaboration.
I get it.
Yes. So that is for the coconut waste, that is for the green.
What kind of capacity do you have with the coconut?
Capacity?
In terms of how much waste can you transform?
So we estimate transforming about 8,000 tons annually within the Landma and adjoining districts within Greater Accra. Okay. Yes.
Okay. And then you're going on to the other projects?
Yes, so the Path to the Fishes project. With that one too, we've carried out several activities, starting from, initially we started with the COVID sensitization relief donation within the coastal communities. So we took them through the ways to protect and safeguard themselves, their homes, their families, and community members from the pandemic. We donated relief items, rice, oil, and the rest, and also added PPEs where they can safeguard and protect their health. Furthermore, we carried out NHI sensitization within the communities, and this came along with the registration. They've been registered onto the scheme. We've been able to sensitize so far over 1,000 beneficiaries, and we've gotten over 600 community folks onto the scheme. And this all by virtue of the support that EU is funding. And I want to take this opportunity to once again thank Susanna and the folks at EU for the consistency and the technical support that they've offered.
You want more?
More.
No, I didn't ask. Some more acts for change. I'm in love with the graffiti. So tell me, what would have happened to Acts for Change if you didn't have this collaboration with the EU going on?
I think that it will definitely going to result in over 5,000 people not actually getting reusable face masks during the height of the coronavirus pandemic. And we distributed over 5,000 reusable face masks in Jamestown community. We went to the Ashertown community. We went to the Old Fadama Agbogboshi community. We also went to the Liberian refugee camp in Budumburam as well. And with this mural, the graffiti work, we tend to reiterate the fact that coronavirus is still alive with us.
So you use that to speak to the people, because we all get fascinated when we see
exactly the point. And really, the art really is to just promote the idea to people. You see, we are coming from communities, especially Act for Change. We work in a community where most people don't actually believe there's coronavirus. So we want to really remind people that, hey, coronavirus is still with us. You need to protect yourself.
And that can be really tough, because sometimes they tell you, I want to see somebody die out of it.
Exactly. We have personal friends who, on numerous, times, they've actually said, look, I don't really understand why you are still wearing the mask. And so we had to go back and explain to them the need to actually wear the mask and follow the protocols as well. So, yeah.
Okay. So what's the future like, especially, when we are commemorating this AU Day on Sunday? And again, I'll start with you in terms of the future plans.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great honor to have actually partnered with the European Union here in Ghana. And like you jokingly said earlier, we want more.
Oliver,
we do want more, because we do believe that there are still a lot more people that needs to be reached out to. There are still lives that needs to be impacted. And so definitely, yes, to a more greater opportunities together to work with the European Union and other NGOs as well.
Yeah, so Nana Kwamina and Richmond, you've said that you share a lot with the EU, and so you're grateful for this collaboration. Just help us with some of the values. What have you learned? Because you know that we live in Ghana, we have our own culture, and sometimes we learn a few things that makes our work better. So what are some of the values that you've adopted with this collaboration? Any of you could start.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm here. So one thing the EU really fights about is the green agenda, recycling, reuse, recycling. So I will entreat everybody out there. We have a lot of plastics going into the seas, going onto the dump site. So I'll entreat everybody out there. If you are hearing us, try as much as possible. When you have plastic waste, segregate them. Don't put them in the regular organic waste. Don't take them to the dump site. There are a lot of companies out there collecting this plastic waste. So kindly do ensure that you segregate your plastic waste, you put them aside, and you contact these companies collecting them so that these plastics don't end up in the environment. We are really harming our environment. We are really destroying so many things with our indiscriminate disposal of waste. So we should try as much as possible. As Plastic Punch said, when you see, look at the amount of waste they are taking from the beach, 5-point-something tons. That's extreme. That's huge. Why don't we prevent these plastics from getting into the seas, from getting into the environment?
Yeah.
So we will treat everybody out there. Try as much as possible to segregate your waste as source so that this menace of plastic, this menace of polluting our environment will be reduced or will be eradicated in total. So that's what I'll entreat everybody out there, everybody listening this morning, to try as much as possible to segregate their waste as source.
All right, great. We have to wrap up this conversation, but Richmond, how did you get the EU to recognize you? Maybe somebody is watching us and they want this collaboration as well. Hello, Richmond?
Plastic Punch. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now, yes.
Yeah, so for us at Plastic Punch, we were already carrying out periodic beach cleanups on turtle nesting beaches because we want to secure these beaches for the endangered species of turtles that call Ghana their home. So in line with this action and engaging with the communities that we serve, the European Union contacted us and mentioned they share in the same visions and that we could continue working in this regards, especially in promotion of circular economy in Ghana, for which they have done a great job, the European Union, not for only projects in circular economy, but for gender, related to gender and equity generally. So we are calling and we are hoping and looking forward to the European Union supporting other NGOs or our NGOs that are here present to build more capacity in the areas of our intervention so that we could be or can be able to serve the wider Ghanaian populace to reduce the burden on central government. You're
a very selfless person, Richmond. You're not selfish at all. Derek, so how did they find you? Did they look for you? How did you get the collaboration going?
So what happened with our case was there was a call. And we applied, starting from the concept note stage to the full proposal stage. And our proposal ended up being one of the best, if not the best. So resulting from that, we met with the EU, signed our contracts, then we started the work on the coconut waste project.
All right. Just real quick, how did you...
So ours really started interestingly. We were actually implementing an international youth exchange program between Ghana and Germany. And so we contacted the EU here in Ghana as part of the activities when our guests come to Accra to be part of really talking to these young people on migration. And so that's how quickly we exchanged contacts. They got interested in what we are doing, and now we are here.
Okay, all right. Nana Kwabena Asante, I'll end with you on that. In terms of how did you get them to collaborate with you?
Okay, so as I said earlier on, we share similar aims. circular economy, circularity, and the green agenda. So we have various projects we also run. So they contacted us, and we also, as Steven said, we also put in an application, and we're also successful. So
that will be Derek.
It's just about seeing the works you are doing, and if you contact them, they just giving the help. It's been very, very helpful. I would also thank Suzanne and the team at EU for their help and support.
All right. Okay, guys. Thank you so much for telling us about what you have going on, the kind of impacts that you're making in our society, and the collaboration that you have going on with the European Union. It is my prayer, really, and it's not a selfish one, that they will continue to support you so you can make further impact. Thanks, Derek, Samuel. We had Nana Kwabena Santi and Rich also joining us on Zoom. Thanks, guys. On to another conversation. Legon has won the Greater Accra Regional Champions of the Science and Maths Quiz after beating Achimota School, Chemo Senior High and Odogono Senior High. The defending champions of the National Science and Maths Quiz are optimistic the little or the title will return to Legon this year.
In a few minutes, we would know whether Presec will take it back or would find a home in a new school. So all the best to the teams in round 4. Here, I have 4 riddles. The winner is going to be based on who gives the answer to these 4 riddles, okay? I am a property of an electrical device. I am a property that is relevant to alternating current circuits. Odogono.
Power factor.
No. Yes, Chemu.
Reactance.
Reactance, that's correct. That came on the 4th clue, 3 points. Next riddle. I am one of the 4 basic types of animal tissues. I develop from the mesoderm. I am found in between other tissues everywhere in the body, including Odogono.
Connective tissue.
That is correct. That was on the 3rd clue, 3 points. I am an element. I am usually obtained only by electrolysis. I am so reactive, I can attack precious metals such as gold and platinum if they are hot. According to Pauline's scale, I am the most electronegative element. Yes, Achimota.
Fluorine.
That is correct. That came on the 4th clue, 3 points. Our last riddle. I am a rate of change. I am a vector quantity. I am a rate of change of the displacement. Yes, Achimota.
Velocity.
Velocity, that is correct. That came on the 3rd clue, 3 points. That brings us to the end of round 4. The end of the 4th round. Here are the scores. Odogono Senior High School, 23 points. Chemu Senior High School, 30 points. Achimota School, 37 points. Presec Legon, 47 points.
Thank you.
Elio, meneto, vida, be most of
shall say that hello, for presenting we get a solid foundation to take our places in the future of our country.
Presec Legon, undisputed champions of the Greater Accra Regional Championship. Okay, blue. Great, fantastic. Tell me.
It feels very normal because we know we are in for the trophy. Our aim is Christ and our outcome is Christ. When you have God, you don't lose. See, watch out for the seventh seal. The seventh seal is here. The seventh seal is here.
Okay, I can see that.
Benjamin Nunu.
Okay, Benjamin Nunu.
A.K.A. Sapero.
Okay, great. Talk to me. What is the feeling like for you guys?
Oh, it's so great. We are so joyous today. Okay. God has been mindful of us. He has once again handed over the trophy to us. Okay. Just as it happened last year, we are going to repeat the same feat. Okay. You know, we won the regional competition, and then we went ahead to win the national. It is the same story.
Okay.
The same story. So I told you last, if you remember, I told you last time that we were going to take.
Yeah.
Right from quarterfinal. It's the same story.
So what does this mean to you, teachers of Presec Legon?
Oh, it markets us a lot. It tells a lot of things about the caliber of teachers at Presec.
This is an old contestant, Gakpeto.
Yeah, please, I'm doing well by God's grace.
You won the national trophy for Presec last year.
Yes, please. Our team won it last year.
Well, which school are you now?
I'm in Ashesi.
Okay, great. How's it going there?
It's going on well by the
And how are you enjoying the fame?
Oh well, well, it's quite. I don't know what to say. I'm enjoying it a bit. Yeah, a bit. Yeah.
Let me talk to the gentleman who won this trophy.
It's an amazing feeling. I think that it's a sign of greater things to come. Okay. That we are going to go bigger and then come stronger in the national science and math quiz.
So what should we expect from you in the national competition?
Improvements. And taking the trophy again this year.
Taking the trophy again, making it 7 for Presec Legon.
Yes, please.
So let's talk about 7.
Yes.
Agenda, let's talk about 7 has been launched. 7 is on the way. Thank you, gentlemen, and then congratulations. Remember that in 2020, they won the regional competition and then went ahead to win the national competition in October. Now, this year, 2021, they just won the regional competition, and they are saying that you're going to win the national competition, which will come up later in October. That makes them, right now, the undisputed winners when it comes to the regional championship of the National Science and Math Quiz, and then the national competition as well. The regional championship started sometime in 2019. The first school to win it is Achimota School. They won in 2019. Presec Legon won the regional competition in 2020, and then in 2021 they've won it again. So 2 times they've won the regional competition, and when it comes to the national competition, we know they won it for the 6th time, undisputed. But let's speak to some of the guys from Odogono.
We did our best. Like, we were hoping for victory. Like we did our best on the stage. There was just some simple mistakes that we have to work on for the nationals. Okay. And I hope you are going to get it to the finals.
Okay.
This year we are going to get into the finals.
Oh, you get to the final of the national competition? We should expect that?
Yes, please. With God, we are going to move through. With God, we are going to move through every stage of the NSMQ straight to the finals.
Oh,